Have you ever felt like you're being tested by God? Like you just hit a season of life, or you've got a big decision that you need to make. And you're just wondering, like, man, is this a test? You ever feel like God is testing you? John chapter 6. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Jesus looks at a crowd that's followed him because of the signs they've seen. It's a crowd that would have filled Dozer Park in Peoria, right? Where the Peoria Chiefs play, at minimum. And he looks at this crowd and he says to Philip, "Hey, Philip, this is your neck of the woods. This is kind of your hometown. You grew up in this area. Where can we buy food for all these people?" And before we look at Philip's answer again, let me just ask you, how would you answer Jesus? If you were on Jesus' leadership team, you're following him around, and Jesus turns to you, how would you answer him? Maybe you would answer him financially, right? Some of you guys are wired that way. And you would say, "Well, Jesus, let's see. If everyone got a little Chick-fil-A sandwich, that's it. That would be $38,175. Let me check with Judas. He's our treasurer. Yeah, ain't gonna happen, right? Not feasible." And maybe you'd answer Jesus logistically. "Well, Jesus, when I was growing up, there's a couple bakers over here, and they baked really good bread. But man, we would clean their case out if we were feeding 100 people. We got 5,000 men here? Man, sorry, not possible," right? Or maybe you'd answer like I think I might, "Hey, Jesus, not our problem. Like, we didn't schedule an event, right? We didn't invite anybody here. They followed you. If they wanted lunch, they could have packed a lunch. It's kind of on them, not our problem. Where are we to buy bread so that these people may eat?" And I love verse 6. He said this to test him, for he himself knew what he would do. What would have been the right response? A response that Jesus would have said, "Well done, Philip. I'm proud of you. You passed the test." What was Jesus looking for? Now, don't forget, Jesus has been showing off a little bit for these disciples. These disciples have followed Jesus for the last 5 chapters, right? He's done some stuff. And I think the response Jesus was looking for would have been something like this. "Jesus, what you're asking is impossible. But so is turning water into wine. But you did it. What you're suggesting isn't feasible. But neither is healing a lame man who hasn't walked in 38 years. But I just saw you do that a few days ago. So, Lord, surprise me." Jesus is looking for that childlike expectation. With a wink and a smile, Philip should have turned and have said, "Lord, surprise me." I think that's the kind of response that reflects a hope firmly placed on a foundation of faith. My challenge for us today is simply this. Begin replacing your scarcity view of the situation and start embracing a "Lord, surprise me" faith. You're facing an impossible health crisis. "Lord, surprise me." You're facing an improbable financial situation. Lord, surprise me. You've recently graduated, right? Or you graduated 30 years ago. Either way, all of a sudden, you find yourself looking at the future with uncertainty. You feel the pressure of limited time, and you want to get it just right. Remember the second half of verse 6. For he himself knew what he was going to do. I don't know why, for some reason that phrase encourages me. What if in faith we just said, Lord, surprise me. Lord, this is impossible for me, but you are God. So, surprise me. That's the better answer. And you might be thinking, yeah, cute sermon, Scott, but you don't know my situation. This relationship, too much hurt. Too many words that should have remained thoughts have been spoken. Restoration is not possible. I know, and I'm sure you're right. But what if you simply said, Lord, surprise me? As we think about some of the dreams and hopes that we've stopped pursuing, we've allowed hurt and hopelessness to kind of pollute our hearts and our thinking. My prayer is that we would turn back to Jesus, and may our first response be, Lord, surprise me. For he already knew what he was going to do.